Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So in this video, we're going to finally take on EX4 of the sealed Malefics trial, and this one was a doozy. This one took me about 3 hours of trial and error and some experimentation. Again, I hadn't watched any other people's videos to see what kind of strategies are out there, so hopefully this gives you a different feel and some different experiences as to what teams you can bring. Now, in this case, we're going to set up right away with a blunt zone. We're going to do a 2-turn AF. Keep in mind that the warning in the very front of this is that you will need all 4 elements and you have a restriction of 4 units only on this team. So no Grasta holders essentially, unless you're sacrificing damage from some of your other units. You can see the loadout in the back. I tend to still use Yifa as my Grasta holder. However, if your Yifa isn't able to do enough damage against this wave that's weak to wind, you might have to sacrifice some of that. In my experience, I needed to spread more damage to AS Yun, which you'll see later on at the last wave of the fight. Also, AS Melina is instrumental since the first 2 waves are weak to water. And so we really want to boost those people. So we try to share Grasta that boosts and enhances both AS Yun and AS Melina. It's not like AS Miyunfa isn't useful. There is also a wave weak to earth, but her DPS is high enough that she can kind of hold her own, if that makes sense. Alright, so remember that this is a 20-turn limit, and so I counted, I think I did something like 13 turns. The video is a little bit longer, and I do apologize for that. Again, not the most efficient clearer in terms of low turns or, elegant kills. However, it got the job done. And again, hopefully it shares some experience to different team comps that can be necessary, as well as kind of my thought processes between of building these teams. Anyways, moving on. So we're just stacking all our buffs and debuffs while we just let AS Melina kind of do her thing. Note that I'm actually using her AoE attack as opposed to her single target attack until one dog dies. And depending on how your Pain Grasta lands, you will do a little bit more or a little bit damage, especially if your AoEs don't land Pain on both dogs, in which case sometimes one dog will die first and one dog will die later. Keep in mind, if you plan to use a magic team against this fight, the dogs do have a 5-turn heavy int down attack. So bear in mind that if you are using that, you might cripple your team for later on. In this case, the int down doesn't really affect our physical team nearly as much, and we are saving our bar. And if you're wondering why I wasted a couple extra turns here, first of all, my DPS isn't high enough, but secondly, I do actually need a full AF for wave 3. Now, bear in mind that one of the instrumental moves in this fight is making sure we have enough DPS. So we have the move from Yifa, which gives up to 6 type attacks if you're in blunt zone. So I use that quite a lot. I'm also using her as our dual debuffer because we don't have AS Tsubame in here. I will tell you, I did use AS Tsubame and AS Miyunfa initially and kind of banged my head against the wall because I kind of lacked enough fire DPS for the last wave. And I decided to sacrifice some dual debuff because the 35-35 is very nice with Ninja Gansai. However, I just couldn't fit her in my team since we only had 4. And so this wave was actually kind of hard. Not that the boss is extremely difficult. However, if you don't use an AF to clear this one, it does remove debuffs at the end of every turn. And so you essentially have to make sure you debuff each and every turn, which can actually kind of slow down your fight. And remember, you want to finish this one in 20 turns or less. So I saved my bar from turn 2, took a little bit extra time to kill the protection dogs since I wasn't in any danger of dying. Remember, we also have destructive defense, which maintains our MP levels because all our MP costs are very high. However, AS Yun does have that destructive defense. Also, self-damages himself 20%, which doesn't matter because AS Melina with Manifest now heals the team as she hits, which is really, really, really good. And AS Yun does give type and physical resistance 30, which is very, very useful in all waves of these fights. Now, in terms of the poison, we do have poison on our team. If you're wondering why I'm taking 0 damage, remember that AS Miyunfa can, for Blunt Zone, when she's in Blunt Zone, cast a water resist up to 60%. And so we are not taking much damage at all, and you can clearly see that she, by herself, as an Earth DPS with enough stacks of T-God Majesty, will one-shot the HP stopper from Tomoe stake, the pair of them, that is. Now, another key to the fight is make sure you keep an eye on your icons. You don't want Tea Kettle Carnival's 60% boost for blunt users to fade, because you need that damage, and even with the end of turn boost from HP Max for AS Mufa, Barrier for AS Mufa, as well as Yifa's end of turn boost, it is very, very dangerous indeed, especially here. You can see that each Yasuzumi does have that stupid 999 MP drain. It also does have HP stoppers at 50%. Now, if you're wondering why one has less than the other, unfortunately RNG did not land Pain on the right side. Otherwise, AS Yuan would have one shot to the 50%, and then this AF would have cleared both of them in the second one shot. But in this case, well, didn't get there. However, removing one is still better than removing nothing, and it kind of resets their rotation as well. If you are having to do an AF there, make sure you use Bambuku Shower to regen MP at least 2 or 3 times. And the reason for that is you will need enough MP to cast one more shot of Yuan's Roaring Bash, which is the main fire DPS one. If you don't have a high level fire DPS here, you'll have to punch through resistances, which in my experience was almost impossible. I also did try Pry, if you're wondering, and Pry's damage was way too low to kind of push through HP stopper, and when the 999 hits, you will have to use either turns to rotate back and forth, or you're just going to risk yourself dying. One other thing to note is that if you do leave both Yasuzumis up on turn 2 after the MP drain, it will each hit you with one wind AoE attack, magical, and they stack wind resist debuff, so you will get more and more damage with each one. Both wind AoEs by themselves were able to wipe my team, and so took me a couple hours to finally get this team going. So hopefully this helps you in your struggles. You do get a Pierce Zone Grasta setting, Grasta for your trouble, so the very, very worth doing these extreme fights. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.